Click the links to join the channel here, become a Shiny Day member over at Subscribe Star. Thanks to the 26 Subscribe Star members. I know I am very well aware that that is amazing for a small channel like that. For, someone who's not showing, TNA or feet pictures or whatnot. So Brie Larson, The Marvels or Birds of Prey Part 2, the burdening now with more birds. The birds are the true lesbians we met along the way. Hashtag we are going to fight the patriarchy. Oh, just so hard. So anything you make with Brie Larson will get the Brie bots to copy and paste some nonsense about how she's not actually a horrible person. She didn't make those anti-white, ageist, racist, and sexist statements she made at that awards ceremony in 2018. Maybe now enough time has passed that, you'll see in the comment section if those bots come up. They come up with these long, like, obviously you're copying and pasting the same thing on everyone's video. The thing is, why she has a fan base is a mystery to me, but I suspect that the milkers have a lot to do with it. And to be fair, those are no joke. she's in phenomenal shape. She does these like fitness videos, or she did a couple years ago when the Wu flu hit. And she's like skinny mini, and she still has those milkers. So the Marvel is coming out. The Marvels. First, let me remind you of a film that you might have missed because a lot of people seem to have missed it. Birds of Prey. It was Harley Quinn and a bunch of angry feminists who fought a group of ambiguously mixed bald guys, so you couldn't tell exactly who they were. And I made a video on that before, and I said the reason they do that is because that trope, blonde man bad, where all the antagonists are going to be light-haired, light-eyed, light-skinned, and the protagonists are going to be diverse, of course. They do the same thing in comic books, but when they know that they have played up that thing so much, or they have like these inner-city gangs, and they know they can't make them blonde or red-haired guys who are like controlling the inner-city chemical trade or something. It's like they do it occasionally, and you watch these movies or you read these comic books, and you're looking back and forth at people like, what planet is this from? Where like, so Detroit's actually controlled by these blonde people? Yeah. So they're flying in, the blonde people in Latin America are flying in pharmaceuticals, and then they're controlling Chicago? Yeah, it's all blonde people. Oh, that's weird. But when they know they have played that trope up, they'll do is what they did in Birds of Prey. Is if you go back and watch that movie, and some of these movies you should watch. You shouldn't pay for them, but you should watch them and take notes on them, because it tells you the way of the world. They did the stuff, similar weird things in Wonder Woman 84. But in Birds of Prey, so all these dudes are shaved heads, they're wearing beanies. They're just ambiguous. You can't really, they could be anything, is what I'm saying. Because they know they can't make them black, and they can't make them clearly Latin. And making them Asian wouldn't make sense, and then clearly making them European wouldn't make sense either. So it's shaved head, or the hair is covered, or their sunglasses, and you get the idea. It's like, who are they? What are they? It's like, they're not black, that's for sure. But then anything beyond that, it's like, well, they could be anything, and that's the point. It's like, well, that's not really how gangs work, or cartels work in America. But if it makes you feel better to make that movie, then go ahead with it. Anyway, so Birds of Prey, the male gaze was definitely avoided with that film. And the thing is, it wasn't as bad as a lot of other woke offerings lately. There was some charm to it, but it's just like, there's just too much, like, we don't want any, we're tired. You can see it online, you don't have to pay for it. There's too much, like, of bad feelings associated with Hollywood, that even though it's like it wasn't that bad and there were some cute moments to it, it's not enough. Even, Charlie's Angels had some surprising, the latest remake, had some surprising stuff in it, but it's like there's just too much of a burden for Elizabeth Banks to over. Like, once you ask on your audience, which I have never done, ever, on any platform, it takes a lot for them to forgive you. You got to have a come to Jesus moment and do some mea culpas or something. Like, people are not, the burden is shifted for Hollywood. You're not going to give anyone the benefit of the doubt, because and now by this point, you're never going to see another good movie from Hollywood. Like, you're not going to see. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. If you think, like, what you think the next good movie will be, like a movie that won't be woke. You're going to be like, your brain is just going to go in circles. It's going to start to touch down on possible directors and companies, and then you go, oh no, they really can't make good movies anymore post the 2020 summer of Soros love. It's like, it's never going to happen. Anyway, so the Birds of Prey thing, yeah, that's a compelling characters. they very much avoided the male gaze and the female gaze. All five women were dressed, in like, I don't know, just like pullovers, and it's so stupid. It's, oh, we're gonna avoid the male gaze. So what about the female gaze? Or any gaze whatsoever, because nobody saw that, because apparently both men and women like TNA. The whole premise is weird because the Harley Quinn character was a TNA character who ran around in shorts. Like, what do you remember about the SS Part 1 was, which, you think about it, is like, I was trying to avoid saying those words, but the abbreviations are just as much a trigger for the YouTube algorithm as actually saying the self-deletion squad, whatever. What do you remember about that? Was a pretty blonde girl who ran around in shorts and a tight T-shirt. That was like, a very forgettable movie. The sword. There's a girl with a sword, and she goes, It's got the souls of the people. God, that's so stupid. A lot of this stuff is it's just so effing stupid. Anyway, she was a fun character, and then they put her in SS the sequel, and she's wearing a rice bag, and she fights the patriarchy with her cat ladies or her diversity crew or whatever. I watched that movie and I thought, oh, I'll probably rewatch it to try to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's usually what I do with good movies. And then I put it on and I realized, oh, after a minute, I don't want to rewatch it. I just turned it off and never saw it again. I'm sure the big blonde guy was the bad guy and the black guy was a purse puppy. Call me crazy. I've only seen it 100 times before. So Harley Quinn was introduced as TNA character played by one Margot Robbie. Then her later movies, she removed 90% of her appeal. The TNA. So is she a good actor or not? It's a moot point, because the films she's in are not those kind of films. You're in superhero movies. It's like the whole reason people know you is because of the short shorts and the tank top. But then I guess she wanted to change her image a bit, or the woke movie companies wanted to get even woker than woke and take away the best parts of Harley Quinn. So why exactly are we expected to watch a chick we watched who half the reason was there because she was hot, and then you cover up the hotness? What's the point? They did the same thing. I mean, these are comic book characters, right? They seem to lose track of comic book characters. Well, have you seen the old comic books? Because it was like all about impossible gravity-defying boobs and the tiniest waists possible. Oh yeah, we're going to subvert and corrupt all that. But that's the reason people are on board. That's what they want. You're not selling them what they want. You're trying to sell them what you want, and it turns out there's not an audience for that. So they did that to Scarlett Johansson, who at one time was a bombshell character with Black Widow. And it's like, oh, they I don't know what they did. They used me or something. Yeah, they used you to the tune of $20 million, and you were all on board with that. Oh, did they like Weinstein you or something? Did they have a Liberty device to your head, or did they just come up with a briefcase full of money and say, hey, here's the money, here, wear this skin tight suit? It's like she was all on board with that. But then she became older, and suddenly she's, I don't know, going down the feminist pathway or something. So that was Black Widow, another movie that bombed. When you're known for TNA, and like her cup is very much, I'm sure those are fake, but at one time was overflowing. That was her whole shtick. Then they cover her up, so like, what's the point of watching her at all? She had turned into a boringly average middle-aged mom running around in a CGI background. It's like she was fit, she was okay, but it's like she was the fit neighborhood mom who's jogging around. Just because Hollywood got politically correct and lame, the audience didn't. There's jiggle physics for a reason. I hate these people so much. And Brie Larson had her movie come out, Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, something. It made $1 billion, but it was between the two biggest films in history. It was supposed to be the penultimate film. And they said, oh, you got to see this movie to understand the biggest movie in film history, which is probably going to be the biggest movie in American history, period, because I think kind of Hollywood's on its way out, at least for the next few decades before the war. So keep that in mind. It's like, yeah, $1 billion, but And then you go, so where's that sequel? That was in 2019 or something. It seems like you should have done a sequel. Oh, where's the Wu Flu is delaying things? Yeah, it's not delaying other movies, right? Anyway, so now she's going to be in this flick, The Marvels, and I think the entire cast is poxwalked or some sort of another. So just going on the similar history of stuff like Birds of Prey, Charlie's Angels, X-Women, Terminator, Ghostbusters, I don't know, Ocean's 8 or something. There's probably a few other films I forgot. It turns out that films that star a bunch of angry women who hate men don't turn out to be too popular. Even The Woman King bombed, and so did Till, that bombed too. Nobody but Hollywood is into these kind of virtue signaling films. there was a bizarre movement on Twitter where the SJW teenage girls were trying to get people to watch these chick flicks because they understand that these movies are part of this cultural Marxist propaganda. But the film's bombed anyway because there's like you just can't get people into a theater. Well, you got to support this movie because it's part of a movement. It's like, well, but so then like we're just subsidizing bad movies. Yeah, that's essentially what it works out to be. It's like we're not going to pay for these things. So I look at this film, and it's all pox walks, purse puppies, which doesn't seem like a pathway to selling tickets. Which, if you say that will trigger them because they focus on you saying the words on why the audience not seeing the show. That's the issue. Not that people don't want to see purse puppy propaganda, which they don't. Or why Hollywood keeps making this type of cancer. She's doing Nissan commercials and mayonnaise commercials where her and Peter Davidson don't say anything in the comments. They're both eating ham sandwiches or something at the end. I'm like, I don't get, like, where are you going with that? I mean, we understand the context. It's like, it's really, I'm not quite sure how that's working. So they do the interview and they play up the Kamala Khan character. Nobody wants to see a kid except other kids. Like putting one kid in with the four other adults that's not the way the dynamics of the movie work. So the movie would have been better off as a lower budget streaming show. I guess that kid had a lower budget streaming show on Disney Plus, which I'm sure did just fantastic. So they're trying to play up Khan and they're playing down Brie Larson, which is weird because at least people have heard. Oh, yeah, there's her 2018 statement. At least people have heard of Brie Larson, even if they hate her, and they very much do. Nobody has heard of this kid, and they're trying to rehab this Brie Larson's a little bit, rehab her character a little bit. They're doing that. They did that by she does all these interviews now in as low cut tops as possible because she does have nice jugs, and they're trying to show that off as much as possible. Like she is fit. Like she is legitimately a fitness girl. And she's trying to put those assets out there as much as possible, make her appealable to people, and try to get everyone to forget about these horribly racist statements she said. But it's like they're willing to get the rules just don't apply to them. You go like these are clearly racist, ageist, sexist, anti-white statements. Are you gonna apologize for those statements? Apologize for being a horrible person? It's like when they tell you who they are, you got to believe them. It's like She's telling you how she feels about these people. Anyway, so when you look at the five ladies on the cover of the Marvels movie for Rotten Tomatoes, it's all pox-walks women. So what's the Venn diagram of the average ticket buyer? Are they going to be pox women who are lining up to buy these shows because they didn't line up for these other shows? The recent ones would have been, The Woman King and Till. Those movies bombed. That should be a pretty good indicator. And all those other women's movies I mentioned, they also bombed. Because usually the audience is male and white, and they don't want to see purse puppies. They want to see their own tribe on screen. Doesn't the left wing always whine about representation? So why wouldn't guys, these men of the West of European descent, also want to see themselves represented on screen? Like they're your ticket buying audience, and you're not giving what they want. So is the show going to sell a lot of tickets to pox women because they didn't see all those other female-led films? Where's the audience going to materialize from? I have no idea. I have no idea who... Like the other four actors I've never heard of. The only one I've heard of is Brie Larson. And she's the only one anyone has heard of, and people don't like her. But I think she has managed to change the image of herself when you hear the name and you have an image pop into your mind. And over the past 5 years, it has changed from being this annoying racist harpy to somebody who's willing to put her boobs out there. So that's like it took 5 years, but she has successfully changed her image to being the girl with the boobs who's willing to put them out there. That's not enough to get people into seeing a movie, though. I mean, people don't remember this 2018 thing. So she talked about how much she hated European people. But they're going to look at this movie, the Marvels, and like, oh, this looks like a kid's movie, or it looks like some diversity hire, pox, purse puppy, Mary Sue type of thing. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, what else could it possibly be? Oh, I'm sure the chicks will just be lining up to watch this movie. No, actually, they're not really into superhero movies. Oh, that's weird. So why are you doing this? I don't know. We'll find out. I suspect that this will be another pretty big L for Marvel or Disney, because they've actually lost. They've had a pretty good string of movies that have lost some serious amounts of cash, but keep in mind, it's like they have so many other properties that are making money that when people look at even something like that Panda movie losing $170 million, for Disney, that's still nothing. Or, all these other like Amazon is going to lose, $500 million on the Rings of Power. I'm sure it's going to, like, in a couple of years, it's going to come out. It's like they don't even notice that. And people like, if you think Disney is in trouble because they're making all these woke propaganda movies, I don't think so. I don't think so. They have a lot of other stuff. Like, they have name recognition for a lot of other stuff. People are really the inertia, like overcoming inertia, getting people to stop paying Disney and Disney Plus is a huge thing, and like stop going to the theme parks. It really takes a lot to awaken people to get them to that tipping point of not paying for Disney and like changing their life. That's just a tiny little bit, realizing like, oh, yeah, I really can't support Disney. It's just too dirty a company. But it's like Disney knows they have to do a lot of abhorrent stuff because like not everyone is terminally online. Like if you're listening to YouTube videos, then you're an online person. But there's a lot of middle of the road people who have no idea what Disney's is doing. They're just vaguely hearing about it on the periphery. It's like it'll take 10 years for them to catch up. And by that time, Disney will have a new CEO. They might go in a different direction. So it's like it takes a lot to awaken people, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so I mean, the point is they can subsidize a bunch of bombing movies because all these networks do it. Disney, Amazon, Warner Brothers, they all put these movies out. Like they know, like you look at Rings of Power. They knew Rings of Power. They knew there was very little chance of something like that, or Willow, or The Witcher, Bloodsport. Those are lower budget films, but you look at all those movies and go like, yeah, these are probably not going to make money. It's like, so why are we making them anyway? Because we want to, because we're cultural Marxists, and there's more to it than that. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.